So when we take the time to imagine something and we're like eliciting a feeling out of that, because when you imagine something, whether good or bad, or usually like a daydream or something, and if you're really into it, that produces a corresponding feeling within you. And that is the cornerstone of creation. Because what happens when we imagine something, we are entering a state, and that state is your state of consciousness, right? Because our consciousness is made out of what we think and what we feel. And that consciousness is not bound by facts, right? We can imagine anything we want. But the facts, they can't imagine. Facts are just effects. So, in other words, when you reference Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard, he starts off by saying that imagination and feeling is like the cornerstone of creation. And with that, we can use our imagination to create reality. So reality responds to feeling. It literally, if you're able to sustain your own imagination, your own reality, your own beliefs, despite outer facts, like for example, if you have a low bank balance or you're, maybe not in the best physical health, you can still imagine yourself healthy. You can still claim yourself to be wealthy. You can still imagine having like a large bank balance and feel the feeling, the joy and satisfaction of that. And that feeling now is going to generate a reality that corresponds, because the outer reality is going to sync up and align itself in time over that. So we're going to start walking into a world, if we're able to sustain that over time and not succumb, to the feeling of lack, to the feeling of worry and rehearsing, not being able to to meet our bill payments and stuff like that. Like, we don't have to rehearse it. Like, we can like make our minimum payments, or be sick, but take our Tylenol or whatever, and still like be optimistic that we're going to get better, because we are imagining ourselves to be better. We are doing common sense stuff, like maybe not doing the things that led up to that. Maybe we're eating healthier, maybe we're less stressed. We're doing something that will allow us to be optimistic for the future, but primarily we are taking the time to have the feeling that are claiming within ourselves that we are healthy, and then we are wealthy, and then we imagine ourselves doing the things that we would do, like were we in that state, in physical health, being congratulated, being complimented, hearing the doctor saying, wow, this is a miracle. And we feel that sense of joy, relief, and satisfaction. And that feeling starts to affect the outer world. It starts to lead and guide the outer world to produce that as a physical reality. So there might be a lag time, but physical reality will now start. You'll notice that in time, if you're able to sustain that feeling and satisfaction over time, maybe no one knows really how much time, but if you can maintain that feeling of joy and satisfaction, still live responsibly, but know at the back of your mind, you're that something's got to give, right? And you enjoy that journey. This is the feeling. That is the process of felicitating a change. You'll notice that at a certain point, the outer world has to start to align and correspond to it, because it has no independent reality of its own. You know what I mean? It does exist for real. But if you want to change something in your life, or you want to produce something that, maybe you're not happy about, you cannot continue to base your mind off of that. Continually think about it, rehearse it, and just think about it and nothing else. You know what I mean? You have to start adding and incorporating and imagining other things if you want to start to change that very situation or that thing. So I encourage everyone to continue doing this, or to incorporate it. As it says, whatsoever you desire when you pray, believe you have already received it, and ye shall. So we have to come from the point that it has already occurred, that we have already received it. We have to feel the relief and satisfaction, believing, right? For we walk by faith and not by sight. And ye shall, it shall occur afterwards, because the outer world is an effect of our state of consciousness, is an after effect of what we think and feel. It fills it in, it produces it, and it figures it out. And we walk by faith, we continue to walk by faith, and we continue to live responsibly, and we continue to have optimism, and with not necessarily knowing the how, but just continue, persist, and persist. Just like when you're exercising or when you're doing a new skincare routine, you know that if you persist in doing those things, you may not see the results right away, but you still continue, right? You still continue to do the skincare, you still continue to do the exercising, because you know something's happening at the deeper layer, deeper fundamental layer. And at a certain point in time, you're going to start seeing the actual manifestation or effect of that in hindsight, right? So I encourage everyone to do that, and I will leave you to it.